And if you're using in nonfiction, is that what you're asking me about? Even in nonfiction, you can get people all, get them all excited, get up to a point and stop and say, what do you think happened? Because sometimes these kids don't have a clue and they don't know, so they would be still predicting what might have happened, even if it's true stuff. All right, then this is an example of what I did today, actually. I even brought samples for later on if we have any time, I'll read you some. But what I did today was, this was independent reading. And so part of strategic reading, the last part is evaluation. So I just said, okay, go back there and get a book. They read for 20 minutes, but I wanted to make sure that they were engaging in text, because a lot of times reading looks like this. And so so I said, okay, so we're gonna practice evaluation. And so I just told them to put themselves in the character's place, try to see things from their perspective. I did have to explain all of it to them. And then they had to talk about the choices that the character made and whether or not they thought those were good choices. And to include examples from the story. And for students that are struggling readers, it forced them to really engage, and they wrote some great things. And that was just something that I did today. All right, so issues and challenges. Usually more evident at the beginning of the year. Reading isn't cool. And we used to have a principal that said, carrying books is sexy. So I was like, it's sexier to read the books. But they don't. So they don't think it's cool. They're very visual, and they will ask you, could we just watch a movie? Could we just watch it? And see, I like film, but you can't just watch a movie with me. So, they would have to do something else. So students go to sleep as soon as they start reading independently, because they're not trained. They don't know how to engage in the text. They don't know how to even select things that might be engaging. I have a girl that says to me, you don't have anything back there I want to read. Everything you have is boring. So I said, how do you know that all these books about? I just know. You don't have anything I want to read. And that's because she's used to some salacious kind of stuff, like the pictures didn't intrigue her or whatever. She didn't want to even try to read anything back there. And I just told her, I said, well, you're going to have to try to pick something that might interest you. Strategic reading and metacognition are not natural for most students. And I'm not speaking as a researcher right here. I'm speaking just in my class. If you ask them to think about their thinking, they get so annoyed. Just tell me the answer. Just tell me. And they get very annoyed. They used to quit MTV-like presentations, so stopping to think critically about something is like, why are you asking me to do that? Why? So these are things, to me, issues and challenges, things that sort of make you think about what kind of research might need to be done. I don't know how we can make changes in those.
Your students are ninth graders.
My students are ninth grade.
Do you get a prediction of what happens as they get older, or does they continue to have these same kind of characteristics?
I don't know. I think that most of high school is spent trying to explain to them that they need reading for a reason, that they need reading for college. I think we spend a lot of time trying to change some of those behaviors, and then some people, I don't know, some people probably don't ever make those changes. This is a big problem, this next issue for me. My textbook that I have for ninth graders is 1,200 pages. It's 1,200 pages, and it is written on the ninth grade reading level. But very few of my students read on the ninth grade level. And also, they don't find anything that's in there to be relevant to them. And that's just based on them looking at the pictures and the titles and the length. They just don't think it's relevant. But the big thing that I wanted to really talk about with you today is sometimes they have no experience with the concepts or the content that's presented in the text. And that's kind of where the teacher has to do a little bit more work. Excuse me.
So on challenges, the fact that many of them are not reading on grade level, isn't that a challenge to you?
Yes.
But
Well,
to make the list.
Yeah. And it's, and I just thought about it just now that was a challenge, because I guess I'm not supposed to say that, I don't feel it's a challenge because it's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what I'm doing, so I don't consider that to be a challenge that's getting in my way. I think of that as a challenge I could do something about. Some of these other things, I'm not sure how I can do anything about them.
And aren't those challenges from the kids' perspective? And what
Well,
challenge
look, I don't know. I don't know what's not on the list. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
I could speculate
Okay, go ahead.
that since you've been accustomed to having large numbers of students who are not reading on grade level, and so it's just a natural situation.
Well, that would make it sound like I was kind of apathetic about the situation, which is not what I mean.
I think that's your goal. Your goal is to help students become readers and to become engaged in reading. And so the things you put up there I saw as the challenges that
Right,
you
so
know you need to
maybe
confront
that's
every
why.
day.
So,
Okay,
wait,
that makes more sense.
But to get them up to grade level is not a goal?
Yeah, it is. That's what I said is the
But
goal.
that's
It's not a challenge, it's her goal,
Right.
overall goal, and these are the challenges that she has to face every day that,
Right,
to
and
accomplish
maybe I
that.
should have been clear about that, because I'm assuming, as a teacher, I'm assuming that that's my job to, to support the development of reading, that kind of stuff. So it's not really, that's not a challenge to me. That I didn't put that on the list because that's not really, yes.
Just maybe one quick clarification. You talked about at the beginning that you taught different sort of levels of students, honor students,
Yes.
and accelerated. What was accelerated?
Accelerated learning.
Accelerated learning. Do you find the challenges to be similar for both groups, or are they
Yes.
different across groups? So you find it across all
Yeah.
students?
But those challenges that I talked about, the fact that they think reading is not cool, the only difference really to me, there are a few of the students in the honors class that are voracious readers. They love reading, and you can tell that it's like what they've done all their life, and their parents have supported it. But there are some very smart children that don't like reading. I mean, I don't, that, and they are in honors classes. So there's still people that say, I'm not relating to any of this stuff that you're trying to get me to read. So, across the board, those are some of the challenges. Yeah.
But how do you, knowing that you have some experience in culturally relevant teaching strategies and have thought about that, how do you employ that in your class, particularly with both groups of students at both ends of the spectrum? It seems to me that somehow you have to try to engage them and make this, as you described it, sexy to read.
Yes. So this is what I'm coming to next. I'm so glad you gave me that little segue. So I decided, not that I decided, but a lot of people decided, and there is research that supports this, that if you do the work in the beginning, like in the pre-reading, like pre-reading, during reading, after reading. So in the pre-reading, if you do the work to get them to be very excited, engaged, or you develop this I put it here as activating prior knowledge, and I put a couple of things that I like. I like anticipation guides, probable passage, inquiry-based discussions, KWL, concept webs, and I'm going to show you a couple of samples of those things. But I also know that there are times when you have to create the experience for the child. And that's when I was talking about being the bridge. And that's where I think that a lot more work needs to be done in figuring out how you get teachers to be able to do this. I do it with storytelling. I like to tell stories to them. And I give them context for whatever I'm trying to teach if I think it's something that they don't know. Like today with the vocabulary, the word was unscrupulous. Unscrupulous. And so I said to them, who knows the word? Well, they don't know it. They didn't know the word. And so I told a whole story about the mafia and all the stuff that they did that was unscrupulous, and so they were like, yeah, we get it, but it's because I had to give it a story. And I kind of equate this to case study, like when you're giving cases in education, if you give a case. So I feel like I have to give a case for some of these things that the kids don't understand. My big one is Romeo and Juliet. Oh my gosh, Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare. And I was going to talk about it later, but if I just want to just tell you really quickly, it is the most difficult thing to introduce to students who have no prior knowledge. And the only thing that helps us out with it now is Leonardo DiCaprio, which is like an MTV version. It's like real crazy, but the language is the same. And there are things that we have to do so that before we can even look at the play, to sort of give them the experience of what that looks like. You know, I show the Zeffirelli, I just show the fight scene, and that just gets everybody like, oh my God. And then in the fight scene in Zeffirelli, they are wearing different colors. And so the kids are like, oh, it's like the Crips and the Bloods. And, you know, and they can see what's happening. It gives them, it's like they were there, and it gives them sort of a vicarious experience.